Hello, everyone. I would like to introduce Marcela from Small Business Strong to get us started.
Yeah, well, thank you, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today, Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. I am sure that you're very eager to learn about creating an e-commerce action plan because we're here. You are here at 4 p.m. And for those that are going to seeing this recording later on, hello as well. And I hope that you will join, that you will enjoy this wonderful webinar. We'll move to the next slide. So I wanted to start very briefly by sharing with all of you what Small Business Strong is all about. We are an organization that was created with the main purpose of supporting and giving help and resources to business owners, small business owners that were heavily impacted because of COVID-19. So what we do right now in terms of the services is that we provide free pro bono consulting services in areas that are specifically related to finance, marketing, including digital marketing, human resources, communications, and also legal. Let's move into the next one. Small Business Strong can be accessed, or and actually this is an invitation, a call to action to all of you to visit the website, which is smallbstrong.com, and just visit the different resources that we have available. But once you come to the website, my recommendation to access those resources, and mainly the free support that is provided by the advisors, is just filling out a very simple form that is going to take you probably 5 or less than 5 minutes to complete. Michael, can we move to the next slide? And that you can see a copy of that form there. It's going to ask you only for your name, description of your business, your last name, email, and also what type of information support you're looking for. Once you send in once you submit that application, within 48 hours, you will get an email or a phone call from one of the advisors wanting to set up a meeting with you. So I am one of those business advisors. Also, Michael is also an advisor. You will get a call from one of us or somebody else in the team to begin that process with you and to create a plan with you so we can help you overcome some of the barriers that you are facing right now. Then the next one. And these are what you can see on your screen. It's some of the organizations that are members of the Small Business Strong organization. Next one. And then from that, I just wanted to say thank you. You're in a really good company with Michael, who now is going to explain to us and share with us the in and outs as it relates to creating an e-commerce action plan.
Thank you very much, Marcela, for the introduction, and so happy to be with everyone here. As Marcela mentioned, especially on a Friday afternoon, I know that there's a lot of business questions and a lot of business matters on people's minds right now. So really, no matter the time of the day, it's really quite important. Also, as Marcela mentioned, I am also one of the business advisors with Small Business Strong, also lead a consulting service called Revby. So we hear from a lot of business owners right now questions about online presence. Do they have enough evidence of their business online to gain new customers, especially right now with the pandemic? There is so much business interruption right now, especially for business types where there's heavy reliance on in-person activity. Perhaps your business has experienced some closures because of government mandates. So there's a lot of questions right now. I know that's also a very emotional time. It's very difficult. But I hope that this presentation will help give you some direction, some ideas, how you might start to add more e-commerce components to your business model. Now, some of the questions we hear and the conversations I've had with business owners, they ask about, what should their website look like now if they don't have one already, or if they do, what changes should go into it. They're also hearing or asking about what are the different channels, or what kinds of technology should they be using, or if they're a service-based business, what does e-commerce mean for them? We also hear from some business owners really hoping for the pandemic just to pass us so things can get back to normal. And that's something that, I think it's important to really think about, that normal, in fact, had already been changing even before the pandemic. So the pandemic, in fact, has really accelerated this trajectory that was already well underway. And that is, consumer behavior is already changing. And with the pandemic, people that were perhaps a bit comfortable still with more traditional means of commerce are now on Zoom calls. They are now shopping on Amazon if they didn't before. They're online more and more than ever. So it's really accelerated, according to this research, by roughly 5 years. If we look at the sales data, 44.5% increase year over year on online sales as a result of COVID-19. And it's not just enough to look at the increase of online sales, but also looking at the behavior there in e-commerce. How are people looking at options online? And more specifically, in this evidence here is pointing to mobile devices. So what does that tell us as business owners? Well, it's not just that we need to have an online presence or a website, but it also has to be mobile friendly. It has to be able to present content in a very productive way that is digestible and actionable on a mobile device screen. So this really to just sort of show the urgency, no matter the type of business you are, that there does need to be a really kind of a good look on what does an e-commerce strategy look like, or if it's not kind of full-blown e-commerce, at least a good digital presence, even if you are still relying on majority in-person interaction. So I'm sure on this webinar, or those who will be viewing later, are represented by many different business types. There are product-based businesses like food, retail, non-food retail, say clothing or other product types. But there's also, I'm sure, hair salons here listening with us, maybe a fitness business, maybe you're in professional services. So what we'll do is we'll go through some examples of platforms that are even designed for these particular types of businesses, since they are rather different. We can think about e-commerce, of course, as the physical sale of products online, but keep in mind that e-commerce can also simply be any commercial transaction that's facilitated by the internet. And I would say that even a type of business that is maybe 99% going to be still relying on a lot of in-person interaction, how new customers discover you is largely going to be online. So, especially for a Friday afternoon, I think that in e-commerce, we can approach this topic in a number of different ways. And it can, in fact, be maybe a rather academic conversation. And rather than doing that, rather than maybe getting too much into, say, the economics or the every piece of the supply chain and things like that, I wanted to present sort of this kind of actionable plan to kind of get you started, or even if you have started, to reevaluate to see where you might make some changes to be more successful. So with these kind of 3 simple steps, simplified, I wouldn't say they're simple, but they are kind of more of a simplified approach. 1, your core business model. With whether the business is online or offline, it's still a business. So we do need to start with those kind of core components. And I'll talk about those in a moment. But then we can evaluate, okay, now what technology do we want to use based on what kind of business we're in and who we're serving. And then, of course, the ongoing maintenance of that business model. And what are some ideas to gain the help you might need to keep it going. So the first part here, your core business model. Sometimes we kind of skip this step, and I think it's actually the most important one. Before jumping right into creating a Shopify store or going onto a marketplace or whatever kind of website you might be building, I really do encourage everyone here on the call to evaluate first, kind of again, revisiting why did you start your business? Why are you going to be starting a business if it's new? What is the passion behind it, the motivation? What were the experiences that led you to where you are now? That is really encompassing your brand story. Part of that also is who you're serving. Who are your customers? Whether that is defined by basic demographics, but also perhaps their interests, their behaviors, where they spend time online, how they discover the types of products that you sell or the types of services you provide. And also think about also those products and services. Not just the product and service itself, but going even deeper than that. What problems are you solving? What kind of value are you providing? What's perhaps an experience that is different when a customer does business with you versus one of your competitors? So I think this is a great exercise, no matter what, no matter kind of what time we're in, to really evaluate your why, your who, and your what. So how does this relate to specifically e-commerce? Well, as we're building digital presence, ongoing, we're going to need to, one, kind of choose our platform, and that should be influenced by what kind of business you are and who you're serving. But there's also a lot of the details, what content you're going to create, what kind of content will you post on social media, what kind of color scheme will you use in your content and your posts, what kind of theme do you want to choose for your website? There's a lot of decisions to be made to start to build this new business model. And rather than approaching it always from like a blank slate each time, which can often be exhausting, if you have this is essentially your guiding principles. You then decide, well, I'm going to choose this theme because my audience will really like this. This will resonate with them, or these words or these kind of themes in my social posts. This is what we should be doing based on this roadmap. So it's a good foundation to begin with, but it's also something to refer to ongoing as you're creating more content online. So we'll move to now the e-commerce platforms. So there are a lot of options out there. It can really be dizzying and most may be kind of frustrating, especially when we have very limited time. And if this is really not your comfort zone. So again, referring back to that pre-work, thinking about, well, is this maybe more product focused? Is it service focused? What are the demographics? Am I focusing still more to a local audience, or is this a national audience? Am I looking for something that has a lot of features? Am I someone that really enjoys the technology and wants to see a lot of integration capabilities and very tech heavy? Or do I want something that is sort of a one-stop shop, simplified, and not too much, because I don't want to handle or spend too much time on that. So those decisions will influence maybe which platforms or solutions you choose. So I know that there are lots of different businesses represented here. I wanted to share just a few examples that might be interesting for your business type. So the first, I'm sure, is quite known, is Shopify. And this is very much for product-based businesses. I suppose that a service-based business could also utilize it. But if you are a healthcare product, a clothing shop, one of our clients at Revby is a bookstore, and their bookstore e-commerce component is on Shopify. We worked with a boutique clothing shop also that is on Shopify. It's a diverse set of businesses that can go on Shopify. If you're new to it, they do allow you to set up a free account. You pay for the tiers once you're ready to publish the site and actually get the store open after the 14-day trial. So as with many of the options that I'll share, you'll see that you can just kind of get in there and see if this is an environment that is intuitive for you, if you think it resonates with your target audience. Definitely kind of play around with that atmosphere because they are rather different and often becomes a personal choice from you as a business owner. One thing about a site like Shopify is it's not just about the website or the store components where you write a description of your product and put pictures of your product and things like that. But e-commerce is very much an app ecosystem. So I just wanted to show this here. When you go into Shopify, you'll see that there is an app store within Shopify of many different integrations you can create for your store. So as kind of also a good kind of presentation of what e-commerce can look like, you will probably think about, well, what kind of marketing do I want to do? Do I want to be able to send out emails to my customers? Do I want to create a loyalty plan? Do I want to have gift cards for my online shop? Do I want to have a Shopify site, but also connect on other websites where there's shopping going on, such as the examples that we see here on Google or eBay or Pinterest, or social media like Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. So these are integrations you can then expand your reach if it makes sense, if this aligns with your audience. And it's not something that obviously you wouldn't do all of these things. It's maybe a few things depending upon your business model, what we had worked on in step one. You'll see on the left side here that there are a number of different apps around maybe inventory management. Maybe you are a dropship business where you are taking orders, but the inventory actually never is in your control. It's going directly from your supplier to your customer. So that is a popular model. So you don't have to have too much risk on a lot of inventory or the physical space and things like that. Shopify has or Oberlo, which is a name of a Shopify service that's specifically about dropshipping. So we could go on forever in going over a lot of these apps in the Shopify ecosystem that are integratable there, but definitely kind of browse through to see if this is something that aligns with your type of business. I would say kind of a direct competitor is Wix eCommerce. Wix has been very popular simply for websites, but they also have an e-commerce function that you can add onto your Wix website as well. The thing with something like Shopify or Wix, they are built to be as user-friendly as they can in terms of you don't need to be a coder to create a website. It is sort of a user-friendly interface to drag and drop and create different pieces. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to start your first website. They do kind of facilitate that process to be fairly easy. But wanted to just share this as an alternative to Shopify for product-based businesses, but also you can turn this into selling services. So another industry that I know is represented here is the food business. So again, going back to our definition of e-commerce, it's any way that online can influence the growth of sales. So people, of course, are learning about new food options and restaurants online, and perhaps your website should do even more than just being sort of an ad for you. It can also take orders online, provide gift card payment options, kind of open up for here as an option on Get Bento, which is one option that I wanted to show here, Bento Box. Can allow some pages for catering or events management. So this is, I think, just, again, one of many options for the food and restaurant industry, but just something to think about if you perhaps wanted to have your own sort of e-commerce channel and not simply rely wholly on the other delivery sites that we know can take quite a chunk of your revenue. Not to say that this is completely replacing them, but for a lot of restaurants, maybe this is something that they want to have more control over. So bento box is one for the restaurant industry. For the creatives out there in the audience, those that are, creating their own products or perhaps selling vintage items, this is a platform then perhaps you may be already familiar or would like to consider Etsy. So very similar concept like with Shopify and Wix, but it is for a particular product type. These are only for products that were made by the business owner. As an artist or creator. So again, just another kind of idea of a platform if your business model points to that. Some small grocery shops or other kind of food product, consumer packaged goods, maybe some bodegas want to think about, well, if they've been used to operating as a very traditional business, relying pretty much 100% on people coming into the store, what might be those options to augment that channel with more e-commerce? There are new platforms coming up all the time. Mercado is one on the left, where you can become sort of a partner in that platform and create a whole section of where your inventory is being presented on that platform. So the benefit there is you get to leverage their reach to a national audience or a local audience if you're only delivering locally. Another that has come up recently, and I actually learned about Corner Shop from one of the businesses that I had gotten in touch with recently through Small Business Strong. And they said that they were evaluating this one as a kind of a first step in going more towards e-commerce. So I wanted to share that one as well. So again, there are kind of creative companies that are trying to help those kind of traditional brick and mortar businesses get in that entryway into e-commerce. So services, obviously, a lot of service type businesses out there. Home services might be represented here. Maybe there are moving services, handyman services, other types of services that are really designed for the homeowner audience. Porch is one. There are actually quite a few out there, and I thought I would share just a few examples. Porch, House. And House is interesting because it's a very content-heavy website. So there's a lot of traffic, but because it has such a big homeowner audience and a lot of viewers there, this might actually get you a new audience for people that actually need work done on their home for your local area. And Handy is another app. So I mentioned that the trend is a lot of discovery and interaction and commerce is happening on the mobile device. So it's important to find those options, whether it's a website you're building yourself or a third-party platform like Handy has a good app option for your customers. So fitness industry. So we might think, well, a boutique gym, yoga instructor, maybe even other personal services like a hair salon or a nail salon. We realize those businesses rely so much on the in-person interaction, obviously, because that's the nature of the work. So we're wondering, like, what do we do? What is the e-commerce option there? Well, even if in the current time, or even hopefully once the pandemic does pass soon, we're all hoping for that. The discovery of your business is largely still going to be online, or at least that's a great avenue for growth, even if the services end up in person anyway. But as we know through COVID-19, businesses have been very creative and they're translating some of their services virtually. For some business types, that is possible. So it might be a one-on-one personal training or even a group class. Yoga is being done through Zoom or other video options. So looking for a platform that could enable some of that lead generation and also delivering the service. So Wellness Living on the left has a capability of integrating your Zoom account onto that platform. So your customers, when they register for a class, they're going back to that place as well to get connected with you online. On the right is Vagaro, another platform to help those business types there. That might be lead generation, and might be helping you with marketing or just kind of organizing the appointments. One thing I'll point out is these platforms that I'm sharing, they certainly have an e-commerce component, but often it is that sort of like one-stop shop. They are offering other functions of your business model as well. So the marketing part of it, getting search engine optimization of your website or your page on that platform, or managing your customer details so you can just always be aware of the details of your customers so you can provide them with more personalized service, or send your customers an email to let them know of a promotion or something else like that. So wanted to share those examples. And of course, again, social media is not just about posting content, but it's also, these are marketplaces. Consumer behavior is changing, and the way people discover product or service options, those venues are really changing. And what business owners have at their disposal is really, the options are growing. So here's a couple of screenshots. On the left is Facebook, on the right is Instagram. So the Facebook business platform is something that business owners can have an account and connect their business Facebook and Instagram pages there, and be able to actually have inventory on these pages. So here's a couple of links here that I put to kind of get started if you want to explore that as well. Facebook.com/business/shops is a good place to start to look at the options. But I also put a link, or at least the URL here on the right. I just ran across this actually. It's facebook.com/FBElevate. Looks like that they are providing some training and some free kind of consults, particularly for minority-owned businesses, which I thought was really interesting and really helpful. So take a look at that and see if maybe some of those resources might be interesting and perhaps helpful for you. So we went through, kind of a number of different platforms. And in fact, I'll just go back to this one here. When it comes to the social media option, another thing to keep in mind is, you might, if you're just getting started, you might start with using your Facebook page as a shop, or connecting on Instagram as well. But you can also have this multi-channel approach. So if you want to have a Shopify site, have that website there, have that store with your products, and then in Shopify, make a connection to Instagram. And then your inventory on Shopify can be connected to your Instagram store. So there's kind of a syncing there, and the content is being utilized. So you're not, having to double it. It's all connected. And maybe you also want to connect Google Shopping as a channel there. So you would connect that to your Shopify store. So it's all in sync. But the benefit there is you're getting more exposure on different channels online. I'll just kind of reiterate the whole ecosystem is, I mentioned also the fulfillment part of it, where if you're a product-based business, where will inventory sit? Is it something that you're going to hold in your control, or is it going to be shipped from someone else? So with some of these different platforms that I mentioned, going back to the product-based ones like Shopify and Wix, if this is rather new to you and you're not really sure of the different kind of product supplier options, the app ecosystem there can really give you some guidance. And you might then explore things like Alibaba, which is a supplier for retailers that often the suppliers there will allow drop shipping. So I think the one takeaway here in terms of platforms and which one to choose is to, again, going back to really defining, who your customers are, what type of product or service you wanted that you have, and then start to explore some of these options. Just kind of visiting these sites, creating a trial account, or if they have a free tier, that often they will have that to give you some time to work with it a little bit. I think that for business owners, it's starting with just getting some trials going. I think that's going to be a really good roadmap, and to start building out what's really comfortable for you, rather than kind of making decisions or trying to tackle it without context of how these platforms have actually been built to help your business type. So with that then considered, now having some of these options here, some of these ideas, maybe spending some time with the trials, getting some examples as well. The third component here is then, okay, now how do I make this happen? Maybe you have now this plan, you know what you want to do, you have your product sitting on your shelves, you want to get it online, or maybe you want to pivot your business model a little bit, change the service and change the product a little bit. So you have all the ideas. For a business owner, especially someone who has been accustomed to that traditional brick and mortar business model, this could be really overwhelming. It could be really, really daunting. So want to acknowledge that, this isn't necessarily an easy process. I guess my first point is that it doesn't have to be done on your own. And even if you are a sole business owner or a sole proprietor that is kind of without any other team members, if this is like a single person operation with no other employees, or even if you do have other employees, but this is not necessarily their skill set, it still will take a team. That's one thing I would emphasize. It's really difficult to do something completely on your own. So wanted to share that there are platforms that have freelancers that are specialized in a variety of different areas. So if you have made a decision that Wix is really more in line with your business model, and that you've seen maybe some templates, some website templates that you really like on that site, then you might think, well, okay, I might be able to get something started, but it's going to take me too long. That's not really my specialty. Explore some of these freelancer sites. I know, like for early stage in my business, that really helped a lot to get past some of the hurdles in really just getting going. So Upwork.com is one of those examples. There are many others as well. There's Fiverr. You might have heard of Fiverr. I've had good experience with Upwork. Pretty much any component of an e-commerce business model, there's someone that knows something about that. So it's whether Shopify, Wix, or some of these other platforms, maybe social media. If posting regularly on social media seems really like, oh gosh, daunting thing. Like maybe personally, you're not very active on social media. Well, how can you possibly do it with the business? There are people that can evaluate, what is the right content? What is the right messaging? And they are the experts in that to be able to provide some really compelling content there for you. I know that one of the maybe hesitations in thinking about, gosh, how do I build a team? There's a budget involved with that. One thing I would point out is with these freelancer sites like Upwork, you can set your budget. You can set the parameters of the project. You can make it small scale or larger scale. It can be fixed rate. It could be hourly rate. So just another thing to explore. And it might turn out to be interesting for you. But I guess I should also point out that Upwork, if we really look at it, it's another e-commerce platform. So if anyone in this call, it has more, their background's more like the professional services. Maybe you're a copywriter. Maybe you do have like a customer service background, or maybe there are a lot of like virtual assistants going on these platforms right now. So this maybe is your e-commerce platform itself, and you would make revenue by being on this platform. So this is, I think, a good example on both those sides. So to kind of wrap up, and like I mentioned, in one presentation, there's so many parts of an e-commerce structure that we can probably go to. I wanted to really emphasize something that's a bit practical and actionable. And number one is so important, no matter if it's online or offline, your business. So really visiting what are your core competencies, what really gets you motivated and excited. Because if we're not really focusing on what's really going to motivate us, the rest of it is going to be a nightmare. So really think about what is, who are you really serving, who you're really working for when you're building your business or continuing with your business or pivoting your business model. And then with all of that insight and that context, then take that next step in evaluating different e-commerce or website solutions that really kind of fit the brand audience. And also keeping in mind that some of these platforms have other functions to them. It might help you with your marketing. It might help you with getting more exposure on Google with SEO power, and just kind of look out for those other functions to make it a bit more kind of just be easier for you. And then finally, think about who are your resources going to be. Friends and family can be a good resource in the beginning to kind of get you started. But in my experience, and many of the business owners I speak with, their professional expertise really kind of gets you going. It allows you to really scale up. So think about what your options are for that. And if you hadn't already explored freelance resources as an option, then maybe that's something to consider. So I wanted to share those three kind of steps to get started, and be happy to take some questions. Maybe there are some specific questions pertaining to your particular business type, or anything that we talked about, or maybe if there's something on mind that we didn't get to. Marcela, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you if there's anything else you would like to mention before we go to Q&A.
Yeah, thank you. That was fantastic, Michael. I learned a lot myself. Now I know how to create my own online store.
Yeah.
So definitely it's something that type of knowledge and information and expertise, it's something that many of us, many businesses need nowadays. So I see a lot of value on this information. So I appreciate everything that you share with the audience, Michael. Just to finalize, I wanted to once again invite all of you, the ones that are seeing us right now or in the future with the recording, to sign up for a Small Business Strong. Again, the website, it's smallbstrong.com. It is really easy to access the website and also to fill out the application. It's just an intake form. It's not even an application. And then just send it our way. There is one thing that I wanted to share with everyone. I believe that 2020 was a year with a number of challenges. It was just a different year. 2021, it's here. I also believe that it's going to be a different year in a good way. And I also realized that and this is one of the learnings from 2020. There are certain things that we cannot control. There are certain variables that are gonna come our way, and we're just not gonna have the ability to control that. But what we can, yes, control is how we react. It's how we pivot. It's how we feel about it. It's about the attitude. So I wanted to invite all of you to, number one, have a very positive attitude as it relates to how 2021 is going to be like. And also I wanted to share with you that I strongly believe that the one thing that we can control, that we can do, is to access resources like a small business is strong. And I believe that there is nothing to lose. It's the opposite. There is just so much to gain. So when you have the time right now, later today, over the weekend, next week, visit the website, Small Business is Strong. Michael, myself, and a number of people that are part of the Small Business is Strong family, all happy and eager and looking forward to working with you, and also to help you overcome some of the barriers that you are facing right now. So thank you, Michael. Go back to you for Q&A.
Sure. And wholeheartedly agree, Marcela, everything you just mentioned, absolutely. And Small Business Strong is a great resource, and maybe even following this presentation and having maybe more context and probably, I'm sure, raised even more questions. This resource is great to just kind of talk through things a bit more, and maybe even an outcome might be that kind of initial plan, so that then you can take those next steps for the execution for yourself. Yeah. Wonderful. So I am looking at the chat. I don't know if there's another place for questions. It looks like there's some good feedback, which is really wonderful to see. Please feel free, anyone, if you have any questions, go ahead and enter those into the chat. So we'll be happy to answer those for you.
Thank you, Michael and Marcela. This was excellent. We have a few more minutes, guys. So any quick questions you want to get in before they leave? This was a lot of information that you gave us today, but it was very interesting.
I hope it wasn't too much of an avalanche.
No. No, that's why it's wonderful that it's recorded so we can go back and take notes and view it again. But it was excellent.
Thank you.
It seems that it already helped someone here in the chat.
That's great.
So maybe I will, for a few minutes, make the attendees available to chat and see if anyone has any questions that they would rather ask you. Let's see here.
Looks like there is a question that came in about dropshipping, and I can address that.
Yes, go ahead.
So having trouble finding items to dropship, anywhere where I can do research regarding items. So I think the first question I would have is, you can think about what kind of items are interesting for you. What kind of business and store would you like to create? If you are still in that early stage of even discovering what the answer to that question is, browsing around these really large marketplaces like Alibaba, AliExpress, or Oberlo. Oberlo, that environment is specific to Shopify. So if that environment looks good to you, then you're sort of committing to Shopify as well. But if you are, it's something maybe more specific, like I know t-shirts is kind of very popular. I believe it's called Printful, which is something that can be integrated into an e-commerce shop. And once that's integrated, you then add in that dropshipping capability for different designs for t-shirts. And I'm gonna just verify that I have the name right. Yep, Printful. I'll put it in the chat. So I'll put the, let's see, Oberlo. Alibaba, Express, and Printful for t-shirts. And when you look up these examples on Google, obviously you'll start to see alternatives, other examples. So just doing some searches on a few, you're going to then see others as well. Great. Any other questions? Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone who has attended. Very much appreciate the comments, and happy to have been able to provide this for you. I think we still have a few more time for questions. Anyone want to share their business? I'm just curious, sort of like a poll. What is the business that you have or are working on that you want to have as more of an e-commerce presence? Just kind of curious if anyone wants to share. Maybe everyone's still digesting everything, and
Yes,
especially for we're approaching 5 o'clock on a Friday, so
exactly. But they have your.
Here we go.
Yes.
Online hair products, yes. Yeah, that's wonderful. Oh, I love the name as well. That's great. And in the manufacturing, customized, sustainable. Yeah. So, both of these ideas, that step one that I mentioned is so important because we kind of think about, some consumer products. We all know that there are a ton of options out there for some of these products. So your brand story and who you're serving is that differentiator. And so that's really, really important, that you're creating for a niche audience and then designing around that. The insulated panels, that's the product itself is very niche. And then the question there is, how do we reach that niche audience? Where are they? What sites do they already visit? How do we start to gain some attention from that audience? And if there's any blog content associated with that, that would be valuable to that audience that you want to create to start getting some traffic. So kind of think about how to create value for that audience before you're asking them to buy.
Excellent. So I think that we can wrap this up today. This recording will be uploaded with all your information, and they can reach you at Twitter at smallbstrong and Instagram at sbstrong_. And that is where they can reach Michael and Marcela. You also, Marcela?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for giving your time today.
Thank you.
Again.
I can put in so let's see, Twitter is Revby Co. If you would like to follow there as well, which is kind of going more direct to.
Oh, okay. I see it.
And
I just put mine, which is Twitter as well.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes. Thank you very much for hosting us. Really appreciate it.
No problem. This is wonderful. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.